Hello, my name is Daniel Eaton, and today I'm going to show you how to solve logic grid puzzles on your Android device. If you're not familiar with Android logic puzzles or logic puzzles in general, the best place to get a good overview and a good place to play the games in any web browser is logic-puzzles.org. There you can find many different puzzles with different complexities and different uh, levels of difficulty, along with complete instructions that is basically what I'm going to walk you through in this video, that shows you how to play these grid puzzles, how to mark the grids, what the different marks mean, and so forth. You're also going to find links there on the bottom of that page to the iPad apps, the Kindle Fire apps, 4 or 5 different Google Play apps, and apps even for the Barnes & Noble Nook. Since I'm on Android, I'm going to be addressing the apps that are in the Google Play Store. There you'll find a few games by Egghead Software. They have one game that is magazine puzzles. I'm not going to get into that one here. They have another one for education that is a single pack of puzzles that walk you through from very entry-level puzzles all the way up to the most complex ones. They have a version in French if you want to play in French. And then they have 2 other games that I'm going to be primarily addressing here. One is called Logic Puzzles, and I'm pulling that up here. Logic Puzzles is the most recently updated version of the game, and I'll show you how to how the game is laid out in Android on this game. Their other game is Quick Logic Puzzles. When it comes time to actually complete one of these and show you the logic that's involved, I'll be going to the Quick Logic Puzzles because those are shorter in duration and smaller grid sizes, and they work a lot better on small smartphones and that kind of stuff. Whereas the logic puzzles can get in the main logic puzzles game can get fairly good size, and if you're on a small screen, you'd have to do some zooming in and out in order to really accurately select different things. What you'll see when you launch this app is that there are basically 3 columns here across the top. It will tell you which puzzle pack you're currently playing. I'm currently playing Volume 1. There's an option to buy more, and if I had not purchased all 18 packs, this is where you would find additional packs that you could purchase as in-app purchases. If you've already purchased the packs, it'll give you links to the other games that I've mentioned here, where you can actually go and grab the puzzle packs that are available with those games, and they are entirely different puzzle packs. And then the last column here is the purchased puzzles. When you look at the puzzles in either the buy more category or the purchased, what you'll see across the bottom here is numbers that will tell you, in this case, like 16, 18, 16. The darker the dot, the more complex the puzzle. So in this case, you're dealing with 16 easy difficulty, 18 medium difficulty, and 16 of the more advanced puzzles. And as you scroll through, you'll also see, like in Volume 1 Casual, you'll have the 4 cell and the 5 cell. Those are larger puzzles. Larger puzzles generally, they're not necessarily more complex, but they can be a lot more complex, and they would tend to take a little bit longer to go through. And the different puzzle packs you can see are casual or extreme or challenging, and they tend to have between 40 and 60 puzzles divided into multiple stories. In this particular case, if one of my favorites in this pack is Volume 6, which is easy ones. I'm not advanced enough yet that I want to play the more difficult ones, but here you can see There's 50 puzzles arranged in 10 different stories. So you'll have 5 puzzles with each set of characters or each particular scenario. Um, and so that's that's a good one to get started with here. When you select a particular puzzle pack, it will give you check marks for the ones that you've already completed. In this particular case, they are all white dots here. They're all easy levels. But if I wanted to go to one that's got more advanced ones, you can see here there's 2 easy ones, a medium difficulty, and 2 of the more complex ones. And in order to launch a game, you just select the one that you want to play. If I wanted to look at one that, like this one I've already started playing, if you select one that's already got a check mark on it, it will basically launch the solution and show you your time in completing that compared to what is the average expert time, and excuse me, will actually show you the solution of that. If you finish all of the puzzles and you want to actually clear those solutions so that you can go and play them again, there's an option under the menu here to erase all player records, and if you do that, that's basically unrecoverable, but that will basically let you start all of these from scratch. The other option there is the More option. The More option gives you information on the different games, gives you links to their website, their Facebook page, and so forth. If you're having difficulty reading that, you can zoom in and zoom out to make that a little bit easier to see. The other options here across the top is you've got a guide that is basically what I'm going to walk you through, that will show you how to play the games. And then you have an option to turn the sound off and on. I will go ahead and leave the sound on just so that you'll hear that. When you go into one of the games here, and we'll just select one that I'm currently in the middle of, you'll see that you've got some additional options here across the top, as well as some areas here on the screen. Over here on the left side of the screen, we have our clues. With the clues, you can zoom in and zoom out to make the text as large or small as you want. I like to have it as zoomed out as I can, where the text is still comfortable, but still where I can see all of the text. As you can see there, some of these are marked off. As you solve a particular clue or you get all the information you can out of it, you can tap it, and it will mark it off so that you can know that you've done a particular one or you haven't done a particular one. As we go through these, you'll see later, some of these you can get all the information you need from it very quickly, and you can mark it off. Some of these you might have to come back to 2 or 3 times as pieces of the puzzle get filled in. There's also this arrow here in the middle of the screen, and this arrow, if you click it, it will let you select whether you see the screen, the clues on the left or in the grid on the right, or vice versa, however is more comfortable with you. Since I'm starting with the clues and I kind of think left to right, I generally have it in this particular setup. Down here in the bottom, you also have a dot, and this dot actually loads up a color wheel. If you're solving these puzzles at night and you want a darker screen, you can go with the dark theme. They also have a simple theme, a bright theme, and the classic theme. Since teal's my favorite color, we'll just go ahead and stay with the classic theme. Now, across the top here, we have additional icons. The first icon that you see here is an undo. If you tap that, that will basically undo moves one at a time, and you could basically undo this all the way back to the very, very beginning if you so desired. The next icon will show you if you've made any errors, and I can click on that, and currently I have no errors. But if I go and just choose, well, that was the right solution, so We'll mark that as wrong, and we'll check, and it'll automatically remove that. Now, when it removes that, it'll keep track of that, and that will actually kind of count against me and count as one of the hints that I was given when we get into the final scoring of how well I did. If you're kind of stuck and you don't really see a solution, the first thing I would do is I would click this errors check for errors button or erase errors button just to make sure you don't have any errors. If that does not give you some fresh information you can start with, the next icon is a really good one for you. This will actually give you what's called Smart Help. In this particular case, this tells me that that particular square of shat on 115 feet can be filled in. So there's something over here in these clues that if I were to read through the clues that tells me how to fill that particular item in. If you're actually connected to the internet, which I'm not right now, my phone's in airplane mode, so I don't get a lot of alerts during this recording. If you're connected to the internet, the Smart Helps will actually walk you through some of the logic of how you can deduce an answer in the grid based on something that you may already know or not know. And as you can see here, speaking of the grid, you can zoom this grid in and out by pinching and zooming and pan it around if you need to. And in order to mark something as false, you would just select it once. To mark it true, you select it again, and it automatically marks the other options that are available for that as false. And if you need to clear it, you can hit the clear button, or like I said, you can also hit the undo button up there, and that will remove it. Now, the pencil icon up here actually takes you to a notes field where you can type in whatever notes you want as you're thinking through things of, kind of put your thoughts down if that's going to help you out. You also have the help button that we talked about before, and the sound button, and then an option under your menu to either restart the puzzle. You can say okay, and that clears everything, or you can solve the puzzle. If you solve the puzzle, it goes ahead and fills it in. So that's basically the basics of how the game mechanics work within the application. Now I wanted to actually walk through a puzzle. So we'll flip over here to the quick logic puzzles. Those will be a little bit easier to understand, to see. Let's see here. Cancel. Excuse me. And when you look at this, you'll see here that I've purchased 7 packs, and there's 9 additional packs available for this particular version of the game. These packs come out periodically, and there's, like I said, 40, 50, 60 puzzles per pack. And they're relatively inexpensive. When I kind of compare it to going and seeing a movie and how much a movie costs. It's difficult to get in and out of a theater for less than $20 nowadays, and you get 90 minutes of entertainment. These puzzle packs, if you get 50 puzzles and they take you 20 minutes a piece, and you get it for the cost of a cup of coffee, it's a really good deal. So that's kind of how I look at this, and that's why I've got so many of these purchased. Now, when you look at these puzzles, and we'll scroll down here, there's some different information that you can see here on this puzzle. Let me see if I can get rid of those dots. It will tell you some information, a description of the story that you're about to get into. In this particular case, the story involves green cars. And if you read the description there, it talks about cars that can go the furthest on 10 gallons of gas. And you have to determine the car's maximum speed and total distance. So I can tell by looking at that when I go into that puzzle, I'm going to be dealing with miles per hour, and total miles traveled. When I get into puzzles that have more than one set of numbers, I find that a little bit confusing. So, uh, you know, those are the ones that I would wait and get to a little bit later. The ones where you're dealing with only one set of numbers are a little bit less confusing when you're beginning this. So those are the ones that I would recommend. So we're not going to solve for green cars today. We're going to look at cruise buffs. Now, cruise buffs tells you that you're going to be dealing with cruise ships, the year in which a traveler the year in which a traveler took a cruise. So this tells you you're going to be dealing with ship names, people, and years. So those are three distinct types of information that are different enough that it'll be a little bit easier for us to figure out what's going on. So let's choose the first simple one here and see what we can tell. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to go with the information that we're told that is straight out false or straight out true. And I'm going to mark those things first because that kind of makes it easier for me. So I'm going to skip the first two clues here and jump right to number 3. It says Corey was on the 1985 cruise. I like that. True statements give us a lot of information. So we're going to mark that off, and we're going to come over here and we're going to find 1985. We're going to find Corey, and we're going to mark that as true. Since that's all the information we can get out of that particular clue, we can mark that off. The rest of these clues are a little bit more complex, so we're going to have to kind of step through those and see what we can find. Now, the first clue says Francis set sail sometime after Corey. Now, we know that Francis and Corey are two different people. Sometimes these clues will give us an either-or choice that will give us more information. In this case, we can't really get there yet, but we know that Francis, since he sailed after Corey, that Francis cannot be the earliest traveler because there was nobody before him. The converse of that is also true. Corey cannot be the last traveler because Francis set sail after him. So if we had not already marked 1986 here as false for Corey, we would be able to mark that as false based on that particular clue. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to leave that for right now because Francis, since he set sail after Corey, we know that Corey set sail in 85 based on clue number 3. So that tells us for sure that Francis set sail in 1986. So I can mark that as true. So already in 2 clues, we've already filled up half of the answers in this first grid. So that's a good start. The next clue tells us that Greg set sail a year after the person who took the Silver Shores cruise. Now Greg, because he's after Silver Shores cruise, we know that Greg cannot be the Silver Shores cruise. So we can come down here and under Greg, we can find Silver Shores and we can mark that as false. We also know that since Greg sailed a year after Silver Shores, that Silver Shores cannot be the final cruise because somebody sailed after that. So we can set that as false as well. Since we don't know yet when Silver Shores sailed, we're going to leave this clue open and come back to it. Because once we know when Silver Shores cruise sailed, we will be able to figure out when Greg took his cruise. Another thing that you can look at this is since we know that Greg could not have sailed in 1985 or 1986, then we know that whoever sailed on Silver Shores could not have sailed on 85 or 86. So we can look at Silver Shores here. We know that Silver Shores isn't Greg. We can look at Silver Shores here. We know that Silver Shores cannot be 1985 because Greg sailed after Silver Shores, and he couldn't have sailed in 85 or 86. Now, if Greg sailed after Silver Shores, we can work through this a little bit more. If he sailed after Silver Shores, that means that he had to have sailed in the latter of the two positions here. Greg can only have sailed in 1983 or 1984. So we know he's not Silver Shores. If Greg sailed in 83, then he couldn't have been after Silver Shores, because there would have been Silver Shores ahead of that. So we can mark that as false. Because of that, there's only one available option here for Greg. So by process of elimination, we can set that as true. And then because Paula is only available for 1983, we can set that for true. Let's check for errors. Good. No errors found. That's good. So I think we've got all the information that we can here. We know that Greg, Paula, Corey, and Francis have their years filled in. Now, we still don't know what year Silver Shores was, but we can figure that out. Silver Shores was 1 year before Greg, because Greg said it's 1 year after Silver Shores. So since Greg is 1984, Silver Shores has to be 1983. So we can mark that. So that basically gives us all the information that we can possibly gather from that particular clue. Now, whenever we mark something as a true statement, we can look across, like in this particular case, 1983 is Silver Shores and is Paula. We can look across to see where else we can fill that information in. Because if you look at our second column or second grid here on the top, where we have our cruise lines, our cruise ships listed, that has different information than where our cruise ships are listed down here below. We know, for example, Greg cannot be Silver Shores, so when we can come up here where Greg is mentioned and make sure Silver Shores is marked as false. The converse of that is true. We can come up here, since we know that 1983 is Silver Shores. We can come over to 1983. We can find where Paula is, and we can scroll down, and we can mark that this is a true statement here. So Paula lines up with Silver Shores, both under 1983 and under the ship name. So it's always good to fill this information in wherever you can. And we check again, no errors found. That's good. Now, our next clue here says Corey set sail before the traveler who took the Neptunia cruise. This is one of those situations that not only gives us information about what comes first, what came after, but with this information, this also tells us that since Corey was before the Neptunia, that Corey could not have traveled on the Neptunia. So we can come over here under Corey, and we can find the Neptunia, and we can mark that as false. Since we know that he set sail before the Neptunia, and he sailed in 1985, we know that the Neptunia could not have been in 1984 or 1985. the Neptunia would have had to have happened after Corey. Since we already know that Corey sailed in 1985, that gives us another true statement right there. And again, we can check for our errors, and we have no errors, so we're doing good. Since this tells us everything that there is to know about both Corey and Neptunia, we can mark that clue off. And then what we will need to do is we can replicate this information about Neptunia in the bottom grid. Since we know that Neptunia is 1986 and is Francis, we can drop down under Francis and we can set that as a true statement. And then, as you can see here, the Azure Seas and the Farallon are the only two ships that we need to figure out. And the only thing we need to know about them is what year they sailed. And that's what this last clue is going to tell us. The traveler who took the Farallon set sail a year after Greg. Now again, we know that Greg sailed in 1984. If the Farallon is 1 year after Greg, that means that it had to have sailed in 1985. So we'll mark that as true. We can mark this as true. And then whenever you finish up all of the grids across the top, you have all of your answers. We can actually go and replicate those down below if we want to totally fill in the grid, and we know that Corey is on Farallon, so we can set that as true. Process of elimination, we can set that as true. And as you see, with that information, everything is filled in. So we can scratch that off. There's nothing left to do on this particular puzzle. And when you finish the puzzle, you see this new prompt that shows up at the top here. Tap here to check your answers. Now, we've already been checking our answers all throughout, and we know that we don't have any errors. But when you check your answers there, and that just totally disappeared. When you check your answers there, it will tell you your total time, and it will tell you your time as it compares to the let's go back in here. This is the screen you'll see. It'll tell you your total time of 11 minutes 34 seconds. It'll show that I took 4 hints, and it compares your time with the expert time. Now, this is one of those easy ones that we didn't even have to go through the clues more than once to get all the information. So this is something that if you're not trying to talk it through with everybody, you can actually get through these relatively quick. In this particular case, 11 minutes and 34 seconds is pretty abysmal. But that's our score for this particular one. And from this point, you can either go on and do easy puzzles for additional stories, or you could actually repeat this particular story with a new set of clues and a new set of names. We got Bradley, Lee, Ollie, and Paula. We've got some different ship names, some new ones in there. So it's repeating the story. It's kind of a storyline that we're comfortable with, we're familiar with, and we can see, for example, Lee was on the 1984 cruise. We can mark this off. We can find Lee. It's addictive. You can get into it and go into it for a long time. If you have any questions, if you have any problems, the best place that you can go for those, again, is this logic-puzzles.org. This is run by the Puzzle Baron group of puzzles. They have a lot of additional puzzles other than these logic puzzles that you can play. But this is the best source of information. They've got a nice FAQ. They've got a forum that you can go to and ask questions about specific puzzles. It is ad supported, although you can also get a premium membership, pay for it by the quarter or by the year to remove the ads, and that just covers the cost of not only the puzzles but also the cost of the hosting of the website. Also, if you look over here on the right side, there's a competition timer. They have competitions on this site where you can compare how fast you can solve puzzles to other people's puzzles. And at the end of the month, and this is a countdown to the end of the month, but at the end of the month, they have awards that you can win based on how well you do. I'll put links in the bottom of the video on how to get to the Egghead software games on Android, how to find this particular website here, as well as the Egghead software Facebook page and a couple other links. I hope you've enjoyed this, and hope you get into logic grid puzzles. Once you figure them out, they're a lot of fun. They're good mental exercise, and I hope you will enjoy it as much as I do. Thanks for watching.